Welcome to the Peak Performance and Peak Satisfaction podcast with Master Executive Coach Sherry Gregoff. Sherry helps business people perform better, get rewarded handsomely, and actually enjoy their work. After having her own career turnaround, she now helps other high-powered business professionals experience the same. Join the movement to work differently.
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. As managers, we may have mastered organizational planning and task management, but we often fail to set aside the time or energy to set the strategic vision for our team and our careers. While it may seem that remaining ultra-focused on productivity and immediate deliverables is prudent, without bigger picture planning and direction, you may be racing towards the wrong near-term goals. In this episode, we'll jumpstart your strategic planning so that you are leading with the long-term in mind for both your business and yourself. Before we jump in, I want to shout out one of my clients who had a win in this area. Here's the quote from him. Sherry helped me tackle this goal that has been on my list for a while, but I was not making space for it because I was unsure about the approach. I now have a clear framework for setting the strategic vision for my team to provide context, boost morale, and help us work as a cohesive unit. This client felt he and his team were making great progress on organizational design, executing on deliverables, measuring success, and actively managing talent. With all that keeping them awfully busy, he felt himself procrastinating on coming up with a strategic vision for his team. This was something multiple team members expressed interest in to get a better grasp on the context for their work and to know where the group was headed in the future. At the same time, AI and market forces were making the industry and client needs more dynamic than ever. It felt like the time to shape a long-term strategy, but the question remained, how? Part of what had kept moving this task to the bottom of his to-do list was the uncertainty. He believed that as the leader, he should have all the answers, but felt he could only see part of the picture himself. There was also the doubt that the vision would live on past a single document or meeting, so the effort expended would be wasteful. There was also skepticism whether the team would embrace the exercise or just see it as more noise. Ultimately, he recognized the value and did the uncomfortable work of framing out a starting point, an approach with his team, and a way to make it organically part of their day-to-day work, such that it would serve as a North Star. We did this work together, tackling the challenging task ahead, and he left the coaching session feeling more clear and inspired to begin. Similar victories are shared by all of my clients, and I have experienced it too in my own career turnaround. So let's hop to today's podcast content and get you on your way to experiencing this also. As leaders, we must always be wary of staying in our comfort zone, focused on the tasks that we have grown accustomed to. We may feel productive just by sticking to the activities that feel more straightforward and simple. For a successful manager, this may include designing the organization, right-sizing the team, actively managing performance, promoting talent, and executing on core objectives. This alone can more than fill our days. Meeting with our direct reports, holding team meetings, meeting with key partners, can leave little time for reflection and planning. Introduce an event such as a resignation, and now you're oversubscribed. And this is just on the BAU, the business as usual. So I get it. I really do. When your 360 feedback or your manager, or both, are suggesting you be more strategic and forward-thinking. Instead of digging in that everyone just doesn't understand how filled your days already are, and that there isn't time to be strategic, take the note. My extracurricular hobby as a child and into grad school was dance. I did it all. Ballet, tap, jazz, hip-hop, ballroom, Latin, and African. I choreographed, taught, and performed. In all those years training, it was so important to take the note, to hear the feedback on your performance or form, and just incorporate it. No wincing, no debating, just integrating the feedback received. I heard it described recently that when we receive constructive feedback, one performance score is already logged, but we immediately have another opportunity to bank our next performance score, and that is based on how we receive the feedback. I credit my unforgiving dance teachers who would shout my name over the music and across the studio with the note for my dance, or the ballet teacher who pressed my leg to reach the right form, for showing me how to just be coachable and take the note. No debating in the moment, just being open to it and applying it immediately. They showed me how to take that second at-bat to ace the score that was immediately at hand. So whether someone else is telling you this at the office or you're hearing it from me for the first time, make sure you are setting aside part of your capacity to set your vision for the future, both in your business and your career. I find that our first excuse for why we don't make time to set a vision for our business or career is that we couldn't possibly engage in the luxury of strategic planning when we're just putting out fires or keeping our head above water on production. Here's the flaw in that logic. If we can't make time to set direction, we will always just be keeping head above water. So it's on us to delegate and prevent fires with the help of our management team so that we can be forward-thinking. There will be no month in which everyone decides we can halt the business to turn our attention to strategic planning. So let's not hold our breath for that. I had a client say to me recently, "We're changing the wheels on the bus while it's traveling at max speed." Yes, I suppose that is. But it's also the ask, the mission for all of us business leaders to lead the business while reinventing it. So no miniature violins here. We are the fearless, eternal optimists that go for it. Another excuse we often make when procrastinating on setting that big vision is not knowing where to start. We may think to ourselves that everyone's expecting us as leaders to have all the answers. Setting strategic vision in a vacuum by ourselves seems daunting, so we avoid it. Not today. Let's get into it. You've made setting this vision for your team a priority and are ready to spend the time on it. Cup full of coffee, pen in hand, or cursor on the screen. Now what? Where to begin? Start with, what do you know already? Most organizations have some version of OKRs in place, objectives and key results. We set objectives, we define how we will measure success within a certain time frame. This can be powerful to set focus and accountability, with regular revisiting of progress versus objectives. Given this, let's begin with the objective of the company. What is the goal for the company at the end of the day? Recycle published objectives and values, but also the unset objectives that drive everything that happens in the organization. Is it profit, growth, margins, cost containment? Start with the firm's objectives. Then turn to your client's objectives. What do they need and want? What value is the company uniquely positioned to provide? Now it's on to your team. How do your team objectives align with that of the company? How does your work advance the company's goals? How do your team objectives align with that of clients? How does your work advance the client's goals? This is the first step to setting a strategic vision for your team. Begin with getting grounded in how your work ties into that of the firm and that of clients. If this isn't clear to your team and to your manager, start by making these linkages crystal clear to all stakeholders. So motivation is there, as is acknowledgement of relevant work that advances important goals. This sets the foundation for the common understanding of all stakeholders to then participate in giving input on a forward-looking vision. Knowing the overlap in objectives, let's start to pan out to what is happening around your team, your firm, and your clients. How are industry trends such as AI changing the landscape? Are there emerging technology trends or changing user demographics that are sweeping through your ecosystem or that you can anticipate? What can you take advantage of? What must you steer clear of? What untapped opportunities are there? What risks exist? As the leader of your team, consider the overarching equation to your business landscape. You can begin with the framework of your OKRs and key metrics and start to list out the drivers to each meaningful result. For example, if the ultimate firm goal is driving profit margin, which it does through revenue generation and cost containment, consider both sides to your team's profit equation. What are all of the drivers that drive the top line and bottom line? And I mean all. How can we move the dial on any of these? If it's investment, how can we perform an ROI assessment on that investment? If it's divesting product lines, what will be the impact to revenue and expenses as a result? Working backwards from the client, they rely on output from your team. Your team owns a process. The team is dependent on inputs, and those inputs come from external vendors or upstream. This landscape offers multiple points for improvement and strategic design to introduce new variables or offerings. What levers can be pulled and adjusted inside this equation to reach our goals? If we double our revenue or the size of our operation, what would we do and why? What people, processes, and platforms would need to evolve? This is when it's useful to get crowdsourcing of creative ideas from your team. Broaden the horizon to 1, 3, 5, 10 years. What bright ideas can we source internally to incorporate into our strategic direction? What should we emphasize or de-emphasize in our ecosystem in the future, and why? Which components are we currently focused on? What will be important in 1, 3, 5, 10 years? What components are we missing? I often hear pushback that it's hard for teams to gel or to brainstorm live on this. Some participants need advance notice. They like to think deeply on their own or conduct research independently, so they feel challenged to answer these big picture questions on the fly. So let's get creative, particularly in a post-COVID world. Consider different ways to solicit input. Try online surveys to gather even incomplete ideas. Establishing word clouds off of submissions may reveal repeated themes to the ideas. This kind of brainstorming isn't as much of a time drain. Team members can respond when it's best for them after they've had time to concentrate on the topic themselves. This is an efficient way to get ideas on the table and have a bit of a straw man to begin with if you do decide to collaborate live. A team brainstorming session can be more productive when the starting point isn't a blank piece of paper. It's easier for people to respond to a starting point than suggest ideas cold. Some will default to a blue sky scenario of endless resources when providing their big ideas. Those exercises aren't always helpful because they become so impractical that there isn't much utility to it in the end. Instead, consider setting a max budget to ideas and require that idea to pay for itself within 1 year, as an example. This makes for more practical brainstorming. That said, as you formulate this vision, challenge yourself to make it big and audacious. No one gets inspired by a vision that's just more of the same. Stretch goals for scope, quality, efficiency, and risk mitigation can set a high bar to aim towards. Once this vision is set, publish it. Perhaps post it or ask everyone to post it in their workspaces to keep it top of mind. Coin key phrases or principles from it and refer to them during working sessions. This is how that vision becomes part of the conversation. It's a common language and a guidepost for decisions and how we work. The key motivator for any business professional is progress. People want to see how their effort is advancing things. By seeing the value proposition of the team and the plan to grow it, this can incentivize everyone to give their best towards it as one cohesive organization, united under that strategic vision. You can ask that everyone dedicate 10% of their time to future-focused work to advance this vision, and work with them on where that time would best be spent. So we've discussed how to set that big, audacious vision for your business and team. Now, on to your career. Our careers can suffer from the same dynamic of plugging along, doing business as usual, and not pausing to take a step back and see a vision for how we uniquely define success for ourselves. Here too, we might think we just need to get through this crunch time at work, or finish out the year, and then we'll turn to our career goals. This is how the years fly by, and we aren't shaping our careers to truly enjoy our work or advance our goals. Just like we carved out headspace to get strategic in our business, it behooves us to do the same in our careers. Otherwise, we risk just working one task or quarter after another and look up after a decade to realize that we didn't accomplish what we wanted. Let's get into it. What does success mean for you in this season of life, and why? I will emphasize for you because only you can see your career vision. Don't default to what your peers or boss see as success for you. Instead, consider what is most important uniquely to you. Maybe it's a certain scope of role, content of work, developing new skills, securing that promotion, earning more compensation, or better work-life balance, flexibility, or the ability to work remotely. Only you know what is most important to you and how to not slip into default mode of the traditional career path in your industry unless that is truly what you want. I also emphasize in this season of life, whether you are nearing retirement or starting a family, that context is very relevant to your vision. Don't resist incorporating that context because it diverges from the traditional vision for success. Embrace what is important to you in this season. This may include releasing your recipe for success that you've held tightly to for the length of your professional career. Give yourself permission to define success for yourself now, without the noise of the past or others' expectations. This can be a freeing and transformational step to take. I recently coached a high-performing business professional who felt torn about her next career move. She expressed the wish that the decision would be made for her, that maybe her role would be eliminated, and to keep a job, she would need to relocate to a location with a plethora of opportunities. As I probed her thinking on this more deeply, she said it was probably so that she could blame the situation for her lack of satisfaction, rather than a decision that she had made herself. It is so powerful to be onto yourself in this way. We often engage others in our decision-making as a way to share ownership. So if something goes wrong, we won't feel so culpable for making an inferior choice. We can share that burden with whoever we consulted in the process. In the case of this client, she wished for her career path to be dictated by her employer, to free her from potentially making a decision that she would later regret. This is so common and often subconscious. In that coaching session, we didn't let her off the hook. We pushed through the resistance to get very honest with herself about what was important to her and what she wanted. In the end, she realized she really enjoyed her current role and did not have her sights set on the next corporate title or a broader set of opportunities at headquarters. What she valued most was working remotely and the professional growth within the role by expanding her scope and taking on new teams. This fulfilled her aspirations and was in alignment with her priorities and values. She felt confident that she could keep her role ever evolving to keep learning and growing. If for some reason that role evaporated, she decided she wanted to explore local opportunities, including in other industries, to be more aware of her options and alternatives to relocating to headquarters. In this way, she could make an intentional decision if that scenario ever arose, rather than telling herself that she had no choice but to relocate. Exploring choices now would pave the way for activities she wanted to remain involved in, even after retirement. We always have choices. We just sometimes would rather delegate decisions to others to avoid the accountability. When it comes to our careers, that is never the way, and there's one reason why. Only you have the answer to exactly what you want in your career and life. It's unique to every person. When we avoid exploring it, it's a self-protection mechanism. If I don't clarify my career vision, then I can never be disappointed if I don't reach it. Or that's how we reason, anyway. I invite you to face it head on and decide for yourself what success looks like for you right now. Get crystal clear. Do some scenario testing if circumstances were to change, to practice flexing that muscle of deciding what is best for you and what you want, what your plan B and C might be, how you can make any situation work in your favor. Once you have that vision, consider what small step you could take towards it every day. Even 30 minutes dedicated to growing the career of your dreams each day will be satisfying and will advance your cause. That does require prioritizing your career planning over firefighting for 30 minutes a day. It might be an audiobook or training while on your commute or during your cardio workout. It might be tackling the uncomfortable thing in your daily work to grow and stretch out of your comfort zone. Craft your goals and priorities and then break it into manageable steps forward that you can take each day. This is another way to breathe life into your work when you are working not only for someone else, whether it's an employer or the clients of the business you own, but now you're working for you too, every single day. You may notice the contrast behind this purposeful work to grow your impact in exactly the way you want, with just keeping your head down and only prioritizing your business and clients' needs day in and day out. This provides context and a longer-term reason for all the effort you expend. It's highly motivating and rewarding. By taking steps daily, you're creating a sense of progress and momentum through racking up small wins, new skills learned, new processes learned, and new relationships forged. As you cast this vision for the future, notice if any whispers come up here. The ones I hear clients complain of the most is a feeling that they're behind and they need to make up for lost time or progress against those goals. I remind them that our careers are not linear. I'm a planner and I like to be in control, but I could have never plotted my career path from business consulting to global manager to COO to executive coach. If I'd sat down to write it out, I never would have come up with this. So we set the vision and then we're open to it evolving. I find it usually evolves in an even more positive and expansive way than we could have dreamed up on our own. But part of that includes curveballs, side steps, one step back to take 2 steps forward. It's not linear. I was coaching another client recently who was feeling the pressure and frustration of not seeing that linear progression that he expected. We discussed how our career trajectory is more like a chart of a stock price. Lots of ups and downs, but if you're doing it right, then an upward trajectory. When you are in one of those down moments, it can feel deflating until we remember that this is the natural course of a career. We tend to overestimate how long a missed promotion or compensation milestone, for example, will haunt us. Our resilience shows that disappointment lifts within a couple of months. Interestingly, the glow of a positive milestone like that often lasts for even less time. These ups and downs shape our character and our judgment, giving us teachable moments to relate to and help others with. The more we focus on how we are not at our high water mark, how much ground we have to make up, the less effective and satisfied we are. If we can calm our nervous system by reflecting on our track record and all that we do have going for us, it will propel us to be more effective and to enjoy the ride more. This isn't seeing the world through rose-colored lenses. It's taking off the lens that there is always a problem keeping us from where we should be by now. I suggest instead to recognize how far you have come, how each curveball in your career helped you grow and prepared you for your next success. From here, you will be much better positioned, not only to set your big, audacious career goal, but also to discern what steps you can take every day and follow through on to advance it. I have had many clients engage me as their coach and then begin with a confession that they don't really know what they want next. They haven't stopped long enough, or they haven't wanted to feel on the spot to make that decision about what they want next. This is no problem. I meet you where you are. I help people do this all the time. I encourage you to know where you're going, because if you don't, then you will never get there. You will blink and years will fly by in your career, and you may feel puzzled about what you accomplished. Leading your career with purpose and clarity is far more fun and productive, both in enjoying the career journey and in leaving a meaningful impact. We can do this together in your next coaching session with me, or in your complimentary career strategy session that you can book on my calendar right now at the link in the show notes. This process of setting both your career vision and the vision for your team is meant to be fun. We get to dream big and come up with what inspires us. Maybe it's been a while since you did this, but the second best time to start is right now. Until next time.
Looking for support in applying the principles and strategies in today's episode? Sherry coaches clients one-on-one as their trusted confidant and advisor, helping each client create the work and life they had only dreamed of. To schedule your complimentary career strategy session, go to sherrygregoff.com/apply to book time with her today. It's one simple step that can change everything.